Hello and welcome to your tour of the Greenwood Village South Orchard Dining Room Kitchen. Come along with me and we'll get started. You're all very familiar with the Orchard Dining Room. You spend a lot of time out here, so we'll skip through that. You can see Jackie over here working hard to get us flipped from breakfast to lunch. And we will start our tour with the behind the line area where the servers go. So back here is where the servers come. We call it the server hall. So down on this side of the server hall, we have the beverage station. So they'll come here to get your soda, your juice, your milk, things like that. As you can see beneath, we've got all of our glasses and we've got our pitchers over there that they come to your table to refill your water. Also down there is where we roll our silverware, and when you get after lunch, closer to dinner, you'll see that they have all the glasses lined up with the napkins stuffed in so that we can flip tables quickly and easily. Right here is one of our many POS stations where the servers can come and input your orders. And then we obviously have BJ's salad bar area. And around the corner here we have another POS. And then back here is where the servers will get your soup. Any of your sides that are pre-scooped, like fruit salad, will be in this cooler. This is actually what we call a pass-through cooler, and I'll show you that on the other side of the kitchen here in a moment. But it actually can be loaded from the other side and taken from this side. So tonight when we do September in Paris, we'll be using this to load up our charcuterie board so that we can just grab them and take them to your table. Down here we have our soup well where we keep your soup piping hot, as well as the to-go and here bowls, crackers, everything we need for that. So let's go ahead and head into the kitchen. Hello, BJ. So we'll start over here. We have BJ's salad prep area. This is where she is queen. No one messes around over here unless they want to get their hands smacked. So BJ right now is working on stocking up the salad bar, so she's prepping fresh containers of everything, getting it ready, and then she'll load it into this pass-through cooler that I talked about so that it's easily accessible when we're restocking the salad bar. So you'll see this is an in-operation area, so it's a little messy, but we always do a great job cleaning up afterwards, which you can see by turning around here. So this area is not in use currently. So everything's wiped down, ready for the next service. This is the table where the servers will build to-go orders, carry-outs, deliveries, and then also we'll utilize this space pretty heavily tonight for September in Paris. Over here is probably the single most popular area of our kitchen, which is the ice cream chest. One of our ice cream chests is down currently and awaiting repairs. We're actually getting some brand new ones from Hershey. But we keep all of our ice cream here so that it can be grabbed quickly and served to you. We also have our coffee machine and our ice machine where we will scoop ice for service out front. Over here is where the expo hangs out. So that's one of the servers who's designated to read tickets as they come out, build the trays, make sure all the condiments are there, and then call out for the servers to come and grab their plates. So let's head around the corner to the busiest part of the kitchen during service, which is the service line. We call it the hot line. Now, on your menus, you'll see, we have our specials, we have our always available menu, but you'll hear a lot of the times people refer to it as the left side. The reason they do that is because most of that food comes from the left side of the line over here. So the left side of the line is where we're going to make salmon, burgers, meatloaf, all of that stuff. And so that's a very busy area. The middle of the line right here is what we call the steam table, and this is where we're going to serve out our special. So as you can see, there's nothing here right now except for a few gravies that we're getting ready for lunch. But here's where we'll keep things like, the lasagna, the pork loin, things like that, so we can carve. We have a hot box here, which is where we keep food hot. So a lot of the times if we have fish, rather than leave it on the line where you're only getting heat from the bottom, we'll put it in the hot box and keep a cover on it so it retains its moisture and stays nice and tender. And then we'll batch cook in small batches so we can get fresh items out regularly. And then probably our second most popular spot for action is the deep fryer. So we have some drawers right here which contain frozen product. And we'll take that frozen product, put it in the fryer, and fry it to order for, French fries, potato chips, fried shrimp, things like that. So then further down here we have the flat top, which is where we're going to make eggs to order, grilled cheese, Reubens, things like that. And then we have our grill, which is where we're going to do our burgers, our chicken breasts, our sometimes our salmon, depending on how you want it. And then this is what we call the low boy, which is a make station. So in here we have lettuce, tomato, cheese, pickles, all of that. And then underneath here we'll keep our back stock of some items like chicken breasts and cheese. We also have refrigerated drawers under the grill where we keep our burgers, meatloaf, things like that, so they can be quickly popped up here to cook. And that's about it for this area. So let's head around the corner. And this is not the most popular, but definitely one of the most critical parts of the kitchen, which is our dish area. So when the servers come in, the cooks will load their dishes on this rack. The servers will stand here, they'll scrape into the trash, and then they'll separate their silverware and load dishes up there. The dishes go into the dish room dirty here, and then our dishwasher utility people will stand there and spray them off, clean them, run them through the dish tank, and then they'll come out on the other end clean, where they will be staged here. As you can see, we have quite a lot of product at the moment, but this is all air drying because we don't want to put dishes away wet. The moisture gets trapped in between them. So this allows us to make sure that our dishes are completely dry before we put them away. So around the corner here is the prep area. So when you saw the service line, that's the busiest area during service. This is the busiest area outside of service. And you may have noticed our production supervisor over there making ground beef currently, but a lot of the times he's working in this area. So this is where we make the soup every day. It's called a steam jacketed kettle. What happens is that this is double walled, like when you use a thermos cooler, it's got a vacuum sealed layer. This has that as well, but it's filled with steam. So basically steam gets pumped inside the walls of this so that inside it gets hot. But the great thing is it never gets hotter than 210 degrees, so we can't accidentally scorch anything. We're currently cooking some pasta in there for tomorrow. Here we have our combi oven, which is a great and very expensive piece of equipment. As you can see on the controls, there's a lot of options here, but basically this allows us to use it as a steamer or as an oven or as a combination, which is why it's called a combi oven, of both. We can also program this to cook things overnight, like roast beef or pork, so that we have it nice and tender. We can actually tell it what temperature we want it to cook it at, stick a thermometer in the meat, which is inside of the oven, and then let it cook overnight and come in the morning and grab it out. Here we have our smoker, which was an acquisition we made last year from Capital Expenses. This is what we use to smoke our ribs, and when we had smoked meatloaf, we smoke several items in here. We usually do a cold smoke because it's a lot easier to clean up. And then this is another recent acquisition. We realized that we were running to the coolers constantly to grab prep items. So we said, why not just make a prep cooler that has a whole day's prep in it? So you'll see all this paperwork on it. These are our prep sheets. And our prep sheets tell us how much of everything needs to be made. And look at all those beautiful check marks. That tells us that our prep cook got everything done, leaves notes for the next person to know what needs to be done. And then Matt has a bunch of notes here on how everything is to be prepped, as well as a look ahead at the next 2 days so we can see what needs to be pulled from the freezer. So this will be our prep area. These tables are where our prep cooks work a lot of the time. They'll make the food that goes into that cooler or goes over to the line. We have an induction burner here, which is a great item that we got specifically per Matt's request because it allows us to precisely control the temperature we're cooking at rather than just having fire hitting the bottom of something. So when we're making things like sauces, we can control the temperature much better. And then Roku, which is a very, very fancy food processor that can produce a lot of food in a very short amount of time. And now we come to my favorite piece of equipment in this entire kitchen. This is our Hobart. We haven't named it yet, but we probably should. So this piece of equipment, when I looked up the actual model number, which is barely visible, this was last manufactured in the 60s, which, if you're familiar, was when Greenwood Village South was built. So this piece of equipment has been here as long as this building has been here. Still works. We've had it repaired several times. To replace this would be probably around $15,000 to $20,000. So we try to keep it working as much as possible. one of the many reasons why this is one of my favorite pieces of equipment, or my favorite piece of equipment, is because it kind of shows the philosophy of Greenwood Village South. If you see this gaping hole right here, at some point the power switch for this thing stopped working. So rather than discard it, because the parts are no longer made, you couldn't get a new switch for it, so we could have gotten rid of it and gotten a new one, but instead, at some point in the past, I would guess around 10, 15 years ago, some plant ops person, or maybe one of our contractors like Deem, came in and ran the power cord for this to this pole you see here, which goes up into the ceiling, across the ceiling, down here, to a rocker switch, which turns on the machine. So basically this thing is always on, but we cut power on and off to it. And that was a way to continue using this wonderful piece of equipment that will probably last another 20 years without having to replace it over a single part. So over here is where we keep a lot of our produce, our stuff that we keep dry, like onions, potatoes, bananas, and then also all of our clean dishes, or at least our stainless steel dishes. And you can see there's quite a lot here. We have some additional clean dishes and paper products here. And then we have the dry storage room. So our dry storage room is where we keep a lot of our ingredients, like canned items, baking mixes, sauces, things like that. We have an entire wall devoted to the servers where they'll keep beverage mixes, syrup, condiments, things like that. One thing that I'm particularly proud of is that the can rack, we used to have 4 of them and they were completely full front to back. We eliminated one completely, and as you can see, a lot of these have very few cans on them. And that's because we kind of changed our philosophy to less cooking from cans and frozen items and moving towards more fresh items, which I'll show you the produce cooler here in a moment, and you'll see where all that product went. So let's head that way now. This is Matt's office. As you can see, lots of communication. It's the only way to make a kitchen work. We've got all of our caterings for the week, which we call BEOs. And then we've also got the schedule for the cooks, and then a clipboard for every day for the menu of the week. Over here we've got our water softener, industrial, which we use for our dish tank to try to keep our glasses spot free. And then we have 3 coolers and a freezer. Cooler number 1 is our produce cooler, and you can see how truly full this is. We go through so much produce. Rather than using canned items, we would much prefer to use fresh. You can also see a cart floating in here. We're getting ready for September in Paris, and it looks like creme brulee. Cooler number 2 is our dairy cooler. So we keep cheese, milk, sour cream, things like that. The servers also keep a lot of their condiment prep here. It looks like we just received a delivery of dairy. And then cooler number 3 is, we call it our meat and prep cooler. So this one you're going to see a lot of carts floating around. So we keep meats on the walls mostly, but then we also keep these carts. Those are our daily prep for ahead. Usually it's not this full, but again, we're about to have a very well-attended special event, so we've got a lot of prep going. And then last but certainly not least is our freezer. This is where we keep a lot of our frozen items. We just got a delivery in, so it's a little crazy at the moment, but we'll get that put away here shortly. And this is where we're going to keep, biscuit dough, ice cream, things like that. And then this is our Meals on Wheels prep station. So Kyle probably just stepped away. He's finishing up right now. This is where we make about 20 meals a day. This is where a lot of our leftovers go. So when we overproduce something like pork loin, we'll put it in the cooler, and the next day we'll slice it, put it in the containers, which look like this. Little 3-compartment foil container that the guests can put into their oven to reheat. And then we'll also include a salad, a dessert, and a slice of bread. And then that will go out to people who have food insecurity in the local community. And that completes our tour. Thank you so much for attending. Usually for the in-person tour, we have a little treat for people at the end, but since this is a video tour, you'll just have to imagine how delicious it would have been. Thank you so much, and we'll head back out this way into the dining room. and I hope you have a wonderful day.